thing I'm going to do, I'm going to sort of just show all of the topics we're going to do. So we're going to start with addition. And then we're going to look at subtraction. I probably should put them in one page, but they'll be really similar. And then we're going to look at multiplying. And then we're going to look at division. All of this mental math, of course. And then we're going to look at squaring. That one will be pretty quick. And then we're going to look at, I'll just say approximation in general. There's really only a couple things we're going to look at for that. So let's start with addition. First, I'm going to give you a question and then see how you do it. And then we'll sort of go through any approximation methods that we can, not approximation methods, but any sort of mental math tricks to help us. So first, what if I ask you to do something like 86 plus 58? How would you go about doing this question mentally?
I would start with adding 6 and 8.
Okay.
And then I would carry over and then add 8 and 5.
Okay, so using that method, what's the answer that you get for this?
$144.
Awesome, I think that's right. So you kind of started from the ones place and then you carried over to the tens place. That's what you were taught, right? When you were little?
Yes.
That's what I was taught too. But how about we try it with, you try that method with this. How about something like 578 plus, and then I'm actually gonna not write it vertically, plus 618. What do you think about that?
At this point, I would probably get paper.
Okay, so thank you for that. So you go from the right side to the left side. I think it's going to be easier for your brain if you learn to do it from the left side to the right side.
Okay.
So a book calls this the LR method. Might as well just call it the left-right method. So we're actually going to start with the hundreds place. And I'm not really going to write much because we want it to be like, mental math. But let's start with the hundreds place instead, the left side. So let's add the two hundreds together. What do you get?
11.
Okay, so 11, and that's in the hundreds. So I'm just going to go ahead and put two spaces there. And then let's add the two tens together.
8.
8. And then let's add the two ones together.
16.
Okay, so the 6 will go in the ones place, and then the 1 will go where?
In the tens place.
That's right, so I'm going to do the plus 1 there. So that's going to end up being 1196. So I'm going to double check with the calculator really quick. 578 plus 618. And we're correct. So let's try another one. How did that feel compared to what you were going to do?
Way easier.
Okay, have you ever done this method before?
No.
Okay, this is great. So let's try again. Let's do, how about something like 432 plus, let's do 879. A little bit ugly. So I'll let you walk us through this, kind of using the same left-right method. So kind of just think out loud and tell me what numbers you're getting.
Okay, so add 8 and 4
Okay, what do you
to
get?
12,
Okay,
and then 7 and 3,
okay,
10.
okay. So what are we gonna write for that?
We would write.
Actually, you can write on this. What am I doing? You write it. You do it.
Oh,
I forgot
okay.
about that. You can see what I'm writing in your own window, right?
I think yes, I can.
Okay, great. So yeah, you go down to the 432, the 879.
Mhm.
You go ahead
Okay.
and sort of take my place as the teacher, I guess.
Okay. So 8 and 4 is 12, and then 7 and 3 is 10.
Okay.
So then I would write 0 here and add 1 to the 12.
Okay, that's really good.
That's 3.
Okay.
And then, so this would be 1. So 13, 1, 1.
All right. I'm gonna grab a calculator, double check that. 432 plus 879 and 11311. That's correct.
Yay.
That's very nice. So this is one method
Okay.
that's helpful for mental math addition. This is what I do. Well, even if I have paper, I still do this instead. Uh, so I'm going to show you one more strategy that you can use for mental math addition. I
Okay.
think that's enough of the LR method. I think you kind of understand it, don't you? Or is there any
Yes.
other questions you have about this or anything else you want to look up before we move on?
I'm good. No questions.
Okay. So, I'm not sure what to call this one. I'm gonna just call this. You can. I'm gonna just throw out a couple names and then you can probably name it. I don't have a name for it yet. Maybe like the
Okay.
rounding method. It's not. I don't like to call it the rounding method because it's not like for estimating because we're not. The rounding
Mm-hmm.
method, or I'm thinking maybe the nice number method because it really is about creating nice numbers. So I'm gonna show you an easy problem, and then I think you'll kind of get the idea. 498 plus 287. So I'm not even going to tell you what the method is, but do you think you can get this answer by doing the nice number method or the rounding method?
Um, Maybe. Is it like we would do 490 plus 280?
There's actually an even easier way. Take a look at that first number, 498. That's really close to a nice number,
5.
500. So because if that was 500, that would make this question like so much easier, wouldn't it?
Yes.
So let's make that 500. How can we make that 500?
By adding 2.
Hmm. So there's a couple ways to do this. We can add 2 here and just turn it into 500.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. And then, let's see, plus 287. And then we have a couple options. You can either subtract the two later, like once you get your answer, or you can just subtract the two from this number, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Okay.
Because you're adding two and you're subtracting two, so those balance each other. You're gonna get the same answer either way.
Okay.
So really you can kind of choose. It doesn't really matter. How about we go ahead and do that right away? So we'll do
Sounds
that
good.
to the 287. So can you go ahead and finish this question?
Yes.
Okay.
So then we would be left with
Okay. I'll get a calculator really quick. Look at the original problem. 498 plus 287. And that's 785. That's correct. Okay, I think you kind of get
yay.
the idea of this.
Yes.
So I'll do one more. I'm gonna make this one was really easy because it's just two. But I'm gonna make it a little bit more difficult. I'm gonna say 476 plus, let's do 817. Um, so I know earlier we started off by adding a number to make it a nice number, but you can also, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm just gonna mute you because there's noise. I'll unmute you in a little bit. So I know we started off by adding a number to get a nice number. But you can also start off by subtracting a number to get a nice number and then maybe adding it to this one or just adding it at the very end. That's one option. Or if you just want to stick with adding, you can add something to this number to make it a nice number and then you can subtract it later. Does that whole idea make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. What would you like to do in this question?
Subtract.
Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Um, let's see. And I wonder if we can do this without writing any work. Let's go ahead and try that. So don't write down any work, but um, kind of talk me through the process that you're doing while you do this.
Okay. So I subtract um 6 from. Would I subtract from only one number or would I subtract from both?
I would subtract from one number. And I
Okay.
and I heard you wanted to subtract from the 476, right?
Yes.
But to make this easier, you don't need to subtract only a one-digit number.
Okay.
Maybe here you can subtract an entire 17
Oh, okay.
and make that a really nice 800. Or maybe on the left side, you can add an entire 24 to make that 500.
Okay, that makes sense.
So those are a couple ideas. If you can make it like into the like a hundreds, straight up a hundreds, that's going to make it really easy to add.
Okay, so then if I subtract 17 from 817,
Okay,
then I'm gonna have 1276.
that's very nice. So then what's the last step you have?
Then add 17.
Okay, so just to make sure you know what we're doing, what are the two numbers that we're adding right now?
17 and 1,276.
Okay. And what method are you going to use to add those two together?
Left hand to right hand.
Okay. So what's the first number you're going to add?
7 and 1.
Okay. So the tens place, right? So what's that going to be?
It's going to be 8.
Okay, so now we have what, 1286?
Yes.
Okay, and then go ahead and add that last number.
So 13. So it'd be 1293.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a calculator and check this. 476 plus 817, it is 1293.
Yay.
So it's not that short of a process once you're getting started, but once you practice it and you kind of know what to do. For example, now we know that the best thing to do is probably subtract that 17. It'll get a little bit faster and faster.
Okay.
So, would you like to look at another example or do you want to move on? Any questions?
I think move on. It all makes sense.
Okay, great. And I'm going to mute you again for a little bit. So let's look at some subtracting. This is kind of going to be the same idea. Not so much the left-right method, but with really large numbers, you can kind of do the same thing where you can start off by adding a number, or you can start off by subtracting a number to get some really nice numbers. Really, you can do the nice number method with subtraction, is what I'm saying. But before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and just write a really simple question and then ask, like, what's your thought process when subtracting these two numbers? 27. So, how would you do this question in your head mentally?
I would do 3. I would do 13 minus 7. So 6. And then I would do 7 minus 2.
Interesting. So, the method that you're talking about is, let me make sure I understand what you're doing. You're doing this, are you? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Um, how do you feel about doing this current right now, your method, mentally?
Pretty good. It works, and then sometimes it doesn't.
Okay. So here, let's take a different approach. I'm not even going to get into the crazy math tricks yet. That's not really that crazy. But let's take a different approach. Let's imagine we're over here at 27 and we need to somehow get all the way over to 83. And we want to know how far away is it to get from 27 to 83. Does that idea make sense?
Yes.
But we're going to go in like short baby steps. So we're going to first go to 30 because that's a nice number. And then I'm going to record, that's 3 to get to 30. And then from 30 to 83, you can kind of see how far that is. So 30 to 83, that's going to be plus, and then however far that distance is. So 30 to 83, hopefully you can see that's 53. And even if you can't see that's 53, you can do another kind of baby step and go to 80. And so that's going to be 50. And then you can go from 80 to 83, and that's 3. And then at the end, you just kind of need to keep track of how far are you going each time, and then you put all those together. We have 3, 50, and then another 3. So altogether, that's going to be 56. And that should be the answer. And in fact, I'll check really quick. 83 minus 27, it is 56. So it's just a different approach. You're starting, at the bottom number, and you want to see how far does it take to get to the top number, but you want to go in like nice steps that goes through like nice numbers. Any confusions with this one?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you a different question, and then I kind of want you to try that same strategy. So how about I'll go ahead and give you a kind of tougher one. Well, sort of. Maybe not so tough. 163 minus 88. Okay, so it might look a little bit ugly, but just try to go in sort of small baby steps. Sort of.
Okay.
And go ahead and tell me where you're going in each step.
Okay, so I would go to 170, so plus 7. Oh, wait. No, I would need to do 88 to 163.
Right.
So plus 2 to get to 90.
Okay.
And can I write on the board?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So plus 2 to get to 90.
Mm-hmm.
And then 70 to get to 160.
Okay.
And then plus 3 to get to 163.
Very nice.
So then
So then,
75.
okay. Let me check that real quick. 163 minus 88 in the calculator is 75. Very nice. So, since our goal is to do this mentally, like without paper, as you're doing it, it might be a good idea to go ahead and be adding these numbers as you do it. That way you don't have to be like, wait, what was that number again that I added? You know what I mean? So that's pretty much the method,
Yes.
is baby go pretty much going in baby steps. And I think this is actually
Got it.
what they learn in elementary school whenever they're learning what subtraction is. I'm kind of surprised that people don't use this method because it's very simple and it makes sense, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't have a name for this method either, so any ideas? The bridge method?
The jumping. The
The
jumping
jumping
method.
method? Okay, I like it. The jumping method. Jumping method. That's a great name. Okay. Let's see. Do you want to look at another jumping method or you want to look at the next topic in subtraction?
Uh, Look at the next.
Okay. So this is pretty much going to be the nice number method again, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit different just because one of the numbers we're working with here is subtraction. I mean, negative when you're subtracting. You know what I mean by that?
No.
Okay, I'll show you. So let's say I want to do 876 minus 380. So with addition For example, if I wanted to add 20 here to make it a nice number, it's a little bit different because it's a negative number. So let's actually pretend for a second that we're doing addition. And then I add 20 here. So if I add 20 here, later, what am I going to have to do?
Subtract 20.
Right. But with subtraction, now let's pretend this is subtraction again. Whenever I add 20, am I going to make my answer a smaller number than what it would have been, or a larger number than what it would have been?
Smaller
I am. Because why?
because you're adding to the number that's being subtracted.
You're right. So if I add 20 to this guy here, then what am I going to have to do later to my final answer?
Add 20.
Yes, add 20 again. So it's not going to be that complicated if you decide to do it to this number. Like you could add a number and then later you could subtract it like normal. But if you decide to do it to this number here, it's a little bit weird because you have to add and then add again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so which number do you want to make a nice number? 876 or the 380?
876.
Okay, so can you go ahead and try this? Try it.
Okay.
Kind of explain it.
Okay, so 876 to get to 80, add 4.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Okay, and then just subtract 380, 500,
Okay.
and then subtract 4. So then you're left with 496. I think. Yeah.
That's nice. I didn't realize that I made that 76 so close to 80. I was almost expecting you to go up to 900 by adding 24. Then I was like, oh wait, there's just that's just 80. It matches.
Yeah.
Okay, let me check this. 876 minus 380. It does end up being 496. That's right. So I think you kind of get the whole idea of this nice number method. Let's go ahead and try one more, but I want you to go ahead and manipulate the um, negative number that you're subtracting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
132 minus, and I'm going to say 560. Oh, I probably shouldn't do negative right now. Let's do 268. So you go ahead and try this one.
All right. To get to 270, you need to add 2.
Okay.
Okay, so then it would be 7, 10. Wait, I think I just added them.
It's all right. Go ahead and no problem. Try again.
Okay. Alright. Okay, 4 minus 2. Wait.
Are you trying to do the
Okay.
left-right method here?
Yes. I forgot how to do it.
We actually didn't do left-right method with subtraction.
Oh, good. Okay.
I personally
we
don't
did.
like it. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's confusing. We did the jumping method.
Yep. Jumping method's pretty good. You could even do the jumping method like instead of this. But I'm gonna give you a little hint here. +2, I don't think that's the best number you can add here. Oops.
Okay. So 42.
It won't be 42. You want it to get to 300, that's true. But 42 won't do that.
Oh, 32.
Hmm.
Okay. And so then that's 300.
Hmm.
And then 164.
That's true. Let's check it.
Awesome.
432 minus 268. 164. That's true. It is the correct answer. So just remember, um, if you can get it to be like an entire 100, that would be ideal because those are really easy to subtract. And also, the goal is to do this mentally in the end. In the beginning, I guess it's okay to write it a little bit, but try your best
Oh,
to use these methods by just like maybe looking at the number without actually writing out
got it.
much work. But let's sort of recap what we looked at so far. Let's go back to addition real quick. First thing with addition was the left-right method. You start with the hundreds if you have them, then the tens, then the ones. And we also learned the rounding method or the nice number method, kind of like we just looked at with the subtraction. A little bit simpler than the subtraction. And then with subtraction, we looked at the nice number method as well as that jumping method. Any questions on these four topics that we looked at? Is there any that you want to look at? Another example or anything like that?
No, it all made sense.
Okay. I think that's going to be it for this part. And then in the next part, I think we can go ahead and look at some multiplying.